Hello from David and from me. Welcome to the programme.
First, we've spent nearly 2 years in it. It's taken more than 50,000 of the region's jobs, and our high streets have changed forever. But today, the news finally came that the UK is out of recession.
But it's not quite as positive as some had hoped. The economy only grew by 0.1% in the final quarter of 2009.
And overall, last year, the economy slumped by 4.8%. Now, that's the largest fall in a single year ever.
And we're trailing in the wake of others. Ours is the last major economy to emerge from recession. Our correspondent Emma Baker looks now at those who have lost out and whether they're hopeful after today's announcement.
Thank you.
Norwich Market today and the news everyone's been waiting for. We're finally out of the recession. New figures show a growth in the economy for the first time in 18 months. But is it being felt at the sharp end?
No, I think we've got another good 12 months at least, especially for small businesses.
When everybody's had the first pay packet, I think after Christmas we might see a bit of a change. It's been a long month.
This area seemed to be the last to go into recession, so we must probably be the last to come out of it.
If you look at today's stats, they may have good reason to be cautious. Today's figures mark the welcome end of a record 6 straight quarters of economic decline. But while that may seem like good news, a quick look at the figures shows we're not out of the woods just yet. The growth we saw in the last 3 months of 2009 was a tiny 0.1%, less than was predicted. And overall, the economy slumped last year by 4.8%, the biggest we've seen since records began more than 60 years ago.
Any recovery is likely to still to be hesitant. What we've had, of course, is companies running down their stocks. That has sort of slowed down, and we've seen the car scrappage scheme. Motorists have been going out and getting cars. But, of course, now we've got the VAT increase coming through. Unemployment has risen, and there are concerns about what may be in store after the election, tax rises. So any recovery this year will be quite hesitant, and maybe 2 or 3 years before it feels like a recovery. At the moment, it'll be a recovery which feels like a recession, I suspect, for many people.
Alan Burnett is one of many who knows what that's like. He spoke to us last March about how his behavioural scaffolding company has been affected by the recession. While he's still got business coming in, he hasn't seen any sign of a recovery just yet.
It's harder to win work because everybody out there now is getting more than 1 or 2 quotes, even when you're recommended. People still turn up and they say, "I know you've been recommended, but do you mind if we get some more quotes?" Now, I have laid off quite a few people. There's only me and Craig now.
With initiatives such as the government car scrappage scheme soon coming to an end, this Cambridge dealership is bracing itself for more hard times in 2010.
The scrappage scheme has brought in a lot of customers that wouldn't normally come in and buy new cars. And so obviously through that period we've been seeing customers through the showroom doors that wouldn't normally come and see us. So those people are going to disappear, and we're going to rely back on the customers that were seeing us before the scheme started.
While we're being told the recession is over, it leaves a number of high street casualties in its wake. Woolworths, Borders and Zavvi, to name but a few. And that continues to make the job market a difficult place to be, as Brodie Patrick knows all too well. Last spring he spoke to Anglia News while he was desperately looking for work. He's now found a temporary job at Babram Institute near Cambridge, but only until next month.
Finish end of February, but after that I don't know really what to find.
I mean, how difficult is it to find a job for people your age out there at the moment?
It's really hard. It's really hard.
It's not doom and gloom across the board. East of England Tourism has announced that more than half of our region's tourist businesses saw an increase in visitors in 2009. And we've just seen the first fall in UK unemployment for 18 months. But with the economic uncertainty continuing on the ground, whatever recovery we do see this year, it's expected to be a slow one. Emma Baker, Anglia News, Cambridge.
Next tonight, the Prince of Wales gave moral support to some beleaguered climate change scientists today.
The Climatic Research Unit at the University of East Anglia in Norwich has hit the headlines recently over leaked emails, which critics say undermines the case for man-made global warming.
Well, today the Prince gave the centre the Royal Seal of Approval with a visit. Our correspondent, Malcolm Robertson, is there for us now. Malcolm, the Prince's backing. It's quite a coup for the scientists there, isn't it?
It is. In fact, there were 2 important visits to the region by the Prince today. But, David, I think you're right. The one here to the University of East Anglia was certainly the more significant, mainly because this has been a pretty bad few months. It's had a bad press, the University of East Anglia. You'll recall the allegations of scientists here manipulating data to prove the case for man-made climate change, and the fact that emails were being hacked into at the Climatic Research Unit. And I think the fact that the Prince was here today is certainly a ringing endorsement for the university. He is actually patron of the School of Environmental Sciences here. And interestingly, during his visit today, he met Professor Phil Johnson, who is the Director of Climate Change, Phil Jones, I should say, Director of Climatic Research Unit, who's temporarily having to stand down while an investigation is taking place. And I think the fact that he met him and was here in such a public role today would, I think, from the university's point of view, hope to re-establish some of the credibility that may have been lost in recent months.
For many students at the University of East Anglia, this was the first time they'd seen a member of the royal family. For the Prince of Wales, there was obvious delight at the size and warmth of the welcome.
You always get to lectures.
Missing one now.
Missing one now?
He was mobbed by hundreds of students who'd waited patiently in the cold, despite the Prince's party being delayed by 45 minutes because of a road accident on the A11. It was the sort of reception his sons might have expected, but there was very good reason for Prince Charles himself being here. As patron of the School of Environmental Sciences, he was keen to show his support for a department under fire following the hacking of emails and allegations that scientists had manipulated data to prove the case for man-made climate change. There's no doubt the scandal has dented the reputation of the Climatic Research Unit as a major player on the world stage. The controversies intensified the debate as to how genuine the threat of climate change is. With allegations that scientists at the UEA have been exaggerating the impact, critics say that lends weight to their argument that it's been overhyped.
We've had 3 cold winters in a row. Temperatures have dropped 7 years on average. The graph is going like that now. Carbon dioxide levels are still high. There doesn't appear to be a problem, so there's no hurry to close down the world's industry. I think the wheels are falling off the whole hypothesis.
And doesn't the fact that Britain's recently been shivering, and this is likely to be the coldest winter for 30 years, also leave question marks over whether there is global warming?
What climate change is about is more erratic weather conditions, and that includes more severe winters going into the future, not just warmer summers. It includes drought around the world, increased flooding and freak weather patterns. We're already starting to see this. We'll see it far more in the future if we don't take warning from the scientists who around the world agree that this is a major problem. It's the greatest danger that threatens us as a human race, and we need leadership from governments worldwide to create a sustainable economy.
Earlier, Prince Charles was at Wimpole Hole in Cambridgeshire to launch the Wool Initiative. That's designed to expand the market for British and Commonwealth wool and promote awareness of its environmental benefits. And some of the leading figures in the wool and fashion industry were there to see the Prince lend his support to the campaign.
So, in the same way that some 5 years ago I initiated the Mutton Renaissance campaign, by getting together and working with celebrity chefs so that we could, as it were, eat the view. I'm now asking if you, ladies and gentlemen, would all consider helping us to wear the view.
As far as the University of East Anglia is concerned, the Prince's visit has hopefully helped restore some of the credibility that may have been lost in recent months.
So, Malcolm, the VIP visit seems to have gone down well then.
It was an amazing turnout by students, yes. A lot of them were foreign students, Becky, a lot from the Far East. In fact, one of them said, I would have actually preferred to see Wills and Harry, but that was the next best thing. It was nice to see a royal outside London. But interestingly, also a lot of English or British students as well. One would have thought that perhaps the Prince's visit might have brought a fairly lukewarm response from some British students, but no, they were out in force, and that was clearly of great delight to the university itself, because it has been a very difficult few months for them. But interestingly, despite all the problems they've had, the negative publicity, the applications from students to come to university is actually up by 30%, so it's been good news for them, even though it's been a difficult few months.
OK, thanks, Malcolm.